East Texas Roadhouse press conference. First day of classes, students are back on campus, a lot going on right now on the hottest day of the year. We're going to get started today with men's soccer head coach Dennis Peterson. His Falcons had their first two scrimmages of the year. They got through about 60 minutes against Sul Ross on Friday before they got stormed out, and then they beat University of the Southwest 2-0 Saturday afternoon. So we'll start with Dennis, who will give you a preview of his season and talk about his first week in camp.
Okay. So our first week went fairly well. We had a couple kids that went down because of the heat, but other than that, all the starters are back intact right now. And yesterday we had Saturday we had a really good result. We had to kind of focus on what we needed to improve on this year compared to say last year. And I think we identified both our problems. One was a finisher and two were goalies. And we took care of that. Two games, only allowed one goal, and that was kind of his fault, and scored 3, so I'm pretty happy with where we're at right now.
So early on, obviously, you're just trying to shake the rust off. How much can you really take from these earlier games?
Well, in our case, these 2 games were huge because I only have 10 returners and 25 new players. So trying to get them on the same page and working together as a team, and holding each other accountable, all that kind of stuff, it was important to make sure that we were able to see where we're at. We still have some figuring out to do. We haven't totally got it done, but we're going in the right direction, that's for sure.
What's the excitement level like going into the season?
I think everybody's, really excited. I kind of put the pressure on them. I kind of took a page from Coach Kerrigan. It was, when we did our coaches poll, I'm the only one who put down we'd take first place in our conference. And, I kind of went off, what he says. If you're not trying to win conference, what are you doing? And so we got one vote, and it was for me. But so far, I put the pressure on them. I told them what I'd done and what I expected out of them, and now they just got to produce.
When it comes...
Just a small group of returners, but what's that leadership like for some of those younger people?
It's been great. 2 of them are actually team captains, and all three of the main starters, or the returners, are all starters on defense. So defensively, I think we're pretty sound. It's just now getting the offensive side of it figured out. And then, of course, we got 3 really good goalies this year compared to last year where we kind of struggled there. You guys probably didn't know, but the last 7.5 games last year, we had to use a field player in the goal. So it's a little bit difficult to play like that, but we had to do it.
So as far as those newcomers and the ones that are already here, what are some of the keys to having them mesh on and off the field?
Well, we've tried to do a bunch of stuff, not just soccer-wise, like we took them to a school where they greeted some of the kids over in Midland, and we've kind of done stuff together to kind of get them together because we got multiple countries as well. I have kids from Norway, Sweden, Colombia, Brazil, England, America, and they all play different styles, so you got to get them on the same page right away. And I feel that so far we've been able to do that.
Is there a language barrier with some of the guys?
No. They speak English around me because I don't speak any foreign language.
Coach, just based off these first couple of scrimmages, what would you say are some of your strengths going into this season?
I think probably our biggest strength is going to be defensively. We're not going to allow very many goals. I think that's going to be a really key to us. And then offensively, we don't have that one Brandon Lee-like kid that I had a couple of years ago that won conference MVP. We have like 4 or 5 guys that I think are going to probably score in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 goals. So having multiple people that they have to pay attention to versus just one guy is going to be really big for us.
What's an area you guys need to work on going into the season?
Pardon?
What's an area you guys need to work on going into the season?
I just think playing together, getting used to everybody's style of play right now. I think right now they're doing really well, but I still think it's going to take a little while before they're all on the same page.
You may have already mentioned this, but what's the main strength of this team?
Probably our defense and the 2 goalkeepers that I have. They're kind of playing split right now, but both of them are really good.
Coach, talk about your schedule. You open at home next Thursday, but then you go on the road for a 3-game series in California.
Right. So they came up with a super region sometimes you get tired of going over and playing the RMAC schools in Colorado, so when they made the super region, that included California teams. So what better way to kind of kick that off than actually go to California, and our AD was kind enough to let me do that. So we actually, it's a tough schedule. We play 3 games in 5 days, but get to go to California.
Escape the heat.
Yeah, we're going to the Bay Area, so it's going to be nice and cool there.
And Ryan just mentioned, home opener. That's always fun.
Yeah.
So when you get a chance to get that energy and start off in that way, how much fun is that for you guys?
Oh, having your first countable game at home, can't beat that. That's unbelievable. Yeah, you never want to play on the road your first game. So I was able to get that game, and I was really happy about it. Because when we had those teams drop out of our conference, I mean, now we just play each other once, so it's a lot different schedule this year.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Okay, next up we'll have UTPB football defensive coordinator Jacob Granado, senior from Midland. All right, Jacob, if you'll just talk about the first couple weeks of camp, your final season, and team scrimmage, what you guys saw out there this past week.
The first couple of weeks of camp have been amazing, going into my senior year. I saw a lot of great things within the team, very high energy. I couldn't remember a day that our energy levels were low. There's just great competition out there, everybody's getting better and pushing to strive to get 1% better every day.
There's a lot of newcomers this year that are from the Permian Basin. How exciting is that for some of you local guys?
It's very exciting, just seeing where everybody's coming from, their different backgrounds, and actually getting to know our players and my teammates is really inspiring, because to see where they come from, it really gives me a reason to push for them and fight for them in that fourth quarter that we need the most.
And you mentioned the energy. I mean, it was so obvious in the scrimmage. I mean, you guys are just getting it going. So what does it mean when you guys are all just supporting each other, making big plays or whatever? I know it's just a scrimmage, but still, so much fun going on, it seems like.
It's, well, we were in camp for 2 weeks, and we really got to know one another. And when you really know the person that you're playing with, you fight harder for them. And that just helps you build that bond that a team really needs in order to make those big strides going forward.
How do you feel knowing it's your senior season here at UTPB?
It's bittersweet, because I want to play football as long as I can. It's just something I've done growing up as a kid. But I mean, I'm very excited for the season when we have to come.
How much do you think you as a senior class as a whole will cherish just this year, just knowing that this is it, kind of?
I already know some of the guys, and we've talked about it, and we were here in 2015, and seeing to where we're at now it's eye-opening, because what we bought into was just a vision, and now it's actually becoming a reality, and it's just awesome to be part of an experience like this.
How excited are you for that first home game here in a couple of weeks?
I'm very excited. It's going to be our 3rd week, starting this week. And it'd be great to finally play against somebody other than the Falcons.
What are a couple things you want to accomplish this year?
Right now we're just focusing on getting 1% better every day. And of course win game 1, and then from there go on to game 2. But our main goal is to win game 1 first.
So obviously a lot of big goals. How do you focus on that 1% better every day? Like, I know it's probably difficult sometimes to not think about just the big picture. Mm-hmm. How do you focus on that?
So we have an acronym, WIN, and it's what's important now. And it's really just, taking attention to what's in front of you right now, being where your feet are, and accomplishing that one goal at a time. There's a bigger picture, but you accomplish those many little goals, the big picture will paint itself.
Did you come up with that, Coach?
I did not.
I like it.
Awesome.
Else?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was great.
All right, we'll continue on with co-defensive coordinator and associate head coach Chris Neo. Coach, if you'll just talk about camp so far and what you've seen from your guys, expectations.
I think camp's been really good the last couple of weeks. Guys have really come out, put a lot of work in. You can really tell them how mature the team's becoming since year one. So the guys are coming back in shape. This was actually the first year that my wife came in the cafeteria day one and said, "You guys are really looking like everybody else in the conference." So they're starting to put in the work, and I really think it's starting to pay off.
How much do you think physically, obviously there's all the IQ and all that side of football, but physically you just mentioned it, how much is that going to help them when it comes to achieving, those schemes and doing what you want to do?
As a coaching staff, we sit around every day and we talk about it. And, when those guys come in as freshmen, and you look back 2016, that first year we're on the field, to where we're at last year, and each year it's really amazing. And that's the main part of the game, that you have to be able to hold up physically, and gradually the middle side of things are going to come.
Lots of hype surrounding the defense this year. What's impressed you the most just during fall camp?
The biggest thing, we got a few pieces back that we were missing last year. That really helps out. But the one thing we've noticed is just the energy that's flying around on the field. Guys are playing hard. Assignment football is getting a lot better, and being able to have a bunch of guys come back allows us to do more defensively. And so we've been able to speed up our install and really just having the guys fly around.
Do you feel like there's any underrated part of the defense that people aren't talking about enough?
I wouldn't say any one position's underrated. I think we all come out there with a little bit of our chip on our shoulder and just try to compete every day. Up front we just talk about win the day, you're in control of the day, and going out there and competing every rep, whether it's warm-up, individual, O-line, D-line, whatever it is, just competing every rep. So that's one thing we've seen, those guys just competing every rep, that they get an opportunity to compete, and that the depth's starting to get to a point now where if a guy's in front, he doesn't really start competing, then he's going to get bypassed pretty quick.
And you mentioned the maturity. How have those older guys helped the younger guys come along with them in that maturity process?
As a coach, it makes your job a lot easier because you don't have to worry about some of the small things that year one we had to worry about. We can get out in the practice field and stuff's already set up for us, and they can really start warming up on their own. And so that part of it makes it a lot more enjoyable, where you don't have to worry about some of the small things, but they're just able to drive each other a little bit more now.
Who are a couple of players that have stood out to you in terms of leadership?
Chris Hope's definitely one on defense that I think shows up to work every day and does a great job leading by example. Offensively, being on the defensive side, what I've seen offensively is Cameron Mathis. I think does a phenomenal job as a leader. And then there's a lot of other guys that you probably don't hear from on a daily basis, but you go out on the field and watch what they play, and they definitely stand out.
What's the biggest surprise so far since y'all been back?
Biggest surprise, I don't know, one surprise. It's I know being up front, it's fun to have John O'Kelly back, and being able to see his progression at where he was at in the spring, coming off the injury to where he's been at the last couple of weeks, it makes me sleep a lot easier at night.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, we'll close this afternoon with head football coach Justin Carrigan.
Earlier.
Coach, if you'll start off talking about what you saw in your team with their scrimmage this past weekend.
Yeah, like Jacob and Coach Minio said, it was a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, guys flying around making plays. I think the best part about it as a head coach is just seeing the balance, that offense was able to make some plays, move the ball, score. Defense was able to create some stops and some turnovers, walk off the field in a situation like that where, it's a kind of a 50-50 day. And it's a double-edged sword as a head coach. You don't ever want it to be lopsided one way or the other. So I thought there was a lot of good leaving the field.
We were talking to the guys about that, not wanting it to be lopsided each side. Do you think that they really took that message to heart and really think about that when they do go up against their brothers when they go out there in the scrimmage?
No, they're just thinking about winning the play. And offensive guys are thinking about scoring and celebrating, and defensive guys are thinking about stopping them and creating turnovers and celebrating the plays. But, really, that's about it.
Have you guys already started looking at Wayland Baptist and how you're going to prepare against them? Team-wise, I guess, not from a coaching standpoint.
A little bit, but we'll start trying to dive into that more this week. The main focus right now is don't let the Falcons beat the Falcons. Worry about things that we can control, and then start kind of getting ready for that game as we get closer to game week.
In the preparation, you mentioned after the scrimmage that you guys are getting closer to where you want to be, but you're not exactly there yet. What are some of those final couple steps that you think need to be achieved?
Well, on both sides of the ball, it's just cleaning up execution, eliminating some of the paralysis by analysis. You can see at times where there's a new guy still processing everything and not moving quite as fast. And I think as we can get some more of that cleaned up with some of the new guys, we'll be a little bit more efficient on both sides of the ball. And a lot of that just shows up in the depth, with the new guys and again, trying to learn everything.
At this point in the season for you guys as a team, what's important now?
Yeah, I think it's staying healthy every day and getting better every day. Make sure that as they leave the field, through camp, it was stay hydrated. When they get to the weight room, it was take advantage of the weight room. Every other day they had yoga. So if it was a yoga day, they had to make sure they were in there taking advantage of it and trying to get more flexible. If it was lifting weights, go in there and get out to the weight rack. Each day and each moment of the day has something different as to what's important now. So when we broke practice this morning, we just had a short little walkthrough. We broke that. What's important now was class, day one. And we gave them a character rep for the day when class ended. They were to go shake hands with their professor, look them in the eye, and tell them they were excited, introduce themselves, tell them they were excited, and look forward to that class. Right? And that's what's important now as they're in the classrooms.
Coach, same thing I asked Chris. Since you've been back, what's maybe the bright spot that's kind of shown out to you? What's a surprise? Maybe what a concern would be right now?
Yeah, I think the bright spot, great question, especially kind of being on the offensive side of the ball, seeing more balance throughout practice, throughout camp. That we're not going up against our defense, banging our head every day, and the defense, much like they did on the field last year, dominated or played really well. They were a strong suit of the team, and they were every day in practice. But I think that also made us better coming into this year, and having the balance out there, offensively and defensively, I think has been a bright spot. Right now there are no concerns. We haven't gotten to a game yet. Nothing to be worried about. I'm excited about where we're at. Again, if we stay healthy going into September 7th, I'll be fired up.
I think there might be a concern just keeping your health right now.
It is as a concern of probably 500 college football coaches. How many there are. Every head coach right now is just trying to get the game one healthy, but still be able to practice physically and the way that you need to practice. You can't eliminate mistakes or injuries. They're going to happen. You got to accept them and move on. So you don't want to change too much in how you operate. It's part of the game, but you just keep your fingers crossed and knock on wood every day.
Coach, you've got two guys at quarterback that could be that starter for you in that first game of the year. Could you tell us a little bit about what each of them brings to this team and what their strengths are?
Sure. Cameron Mathis, Coach Minio hit on it. The leader of the program, guy's been here for every game so far, and I think he does a great job of leading the troops, a little bit more vocal, and he takes pride in that role of setting the example. And Taylor is he's a little bit more quiet in the group, privately, probably a little bit more laser focused and how he communicates just one-on-one with the players. I think Cameron does a great job, big picture leadership. Taylor does a great job in one-on-one leadership or small group. And both those guys are vital to the program. They're both going to be a big part of the offense this fall. I'm looking forward to seeing both of them help us win a championship.
Do you plan on playing both of them at some point?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're both got a big role for our team, our locker room, and our offense.
Do you sense with the senior class, obviously kind of a unique situation, this year only, the sense of pride of having been the first true senior class to come through, build the program, and what's your message to them as they kind of try to set that legacy?
Great question. There's definitely more pride, and I think there's going to be more pride in that class than any other class that will ever go through here. And then the conversations really took place a lot at the end of last spring in exit meetings. And those conversations with those 8 guys that are still with us, Jake Granado being one of them, we took a deeper dive into the program, some of the things that I was missing as a head coach that they saw in the locker room as the program has grown and progressed over the years. And they were able to kind of bring me back into a little bit more of what I was as a coach early on, and things that they appreciated later on, the accountability stuff, the discipline, and making sure that we didn't lose that side of the program as it continued to grow and get bigger. And I think that's what they take pride in most as a group. They're the ones that fought through some of those hard times where I was probably a little overboard and holding guys accountable, but it was a standard and expectations of the program, and it's great having that senior leadership and the confidence that they have to be able to come open up and share some of that with me. I think is a big part of where we're at right now as a program, and a reason why we'll have a chance to be successful this fall with those guys taking ownership of the team.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks,
Coach. Appreciate it.